welcome you bright sparks to a brand new deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're embarking on an adventure into something that might sound like pure science fiction, honestly. But it's rapidly turning into a very real investment story. Nuclear fusion.
It really is. The buzz is getting louder.
Yeah, you've likely heard the buzz, maybe seen headlines about, serious money flowing into this field.
A lot of money.
So our mission today is really to demystify this exciting landscape, kind of sort through the key opportunities and understand exactly what makes fusion investment so compelling right now.
Right, because it can seem a bit out there.
Totally. It might seem like a dream from the distant future, but trust me, the energy and the investment is very much a present-day reality. We've taken a close look at analyses of the nuclear fusion sector, strategic investment outlooks, reports tracking this surge of interest, all that stuff.
Yeah, combed through quite a bit.
All to bring you a clear and hopefully easy to digest picture of what truly matters.
Exactly. Cut through the noise.
So get ready to have your mind expanded a little.
Yeah.
We're about to make fusion a whole lot less, well, intimidating.
Absolutely. For such a long time, fusion power has felt like that amazing technology that's always, just around the corner.
Or 20 years away, right?
Exactly. But now, the combination of urgent global needs and some really exciting technological leaps has genuinely ignited this field.
Okay.
And what's truly fascinating here is just the sheer size of the potential market.
Right.
We're talking about projections ranging from, say, $40 to $80 billion by 2035.
Wow.
And then possibly taking off to over $350 billion by 2050.
That's massive.
That kind of potential growth is, something you don't see every day.
Okay, let's really dig into this why now then. Beyond the huge market potential, what are the core reasons this is gaining so much momentum? For those of us whose science knowledge might be a little rusty, what's the fundamental appeal? Why fusion?
Okay, yeah, good question. The core appeal really comes down to some truly game-changing advantages.
Like what?
Picture this. Zero chance of a runaway reaction like a nuclear meltdown. That's a massive safety improvement over traditional fission.
So that's huge.
Huge. Plus, it produces minimal, long-lived radioactive waste, which is, again, a significant step up.
Or the waste problem is a big one for current nuclear.
It is. Then you have the fuel source, virtually unlimited deuterium, which you can get easily from seawater.
Just seawater.
Pretty much. And tritium, which can actually be produced as part of the fusion process itself.
Interesting.
So this opens the door to, really decentralized and incredibly clean baseload power.
And that baseload part is critical, isn't it? Reliable power.
Absolutely key. We need reliable, clean energy that can operate, 24/7, not just when the sun shines or the wind blows.
Exactly. It feels like the world is really waking up to the urgency of this, right? The strong push towards cleaner energy, the need for more secure energy supplies, it all seems to be fueling this fusion enthusiasm.
Precisely. The drive to decarbonize our energy systems is a huge factor. You're seeing major energy players now, think Chevron, Shell, BP.
The big oil guys.
Yeah, they're investing in fusion specifically because of its clean energy promise. And energy security is another major piece of the puzzle. I mean, having a virtually inexhaustible fuel supply dramatically reduces reliance on potentially unstable regions.
Good point. Geopolitics.
Definitely. But we absolutely can't overlook the incredible technological progress we've witnessed.
Science breakthroughs.
Yeah, the advancements towards achieving net energy gain, that's, getting more energy out than you put in.
The holy grail, basically.
Kind of, yeah. It's a massive hurdle, scientifically and practically, that we're getting genuinely close to overcoming now.
Okay.
And breakthroughs in areas like high-temperature superconducting magnets, HTS magnets.
Oh, the TS, right.
Those allow for much stronger, more efficient magnetic fields. And that makes more powerful and, crucially, more cost-effective reactors seem possible.
So it's not just hopeful thinking anymore. There's real, tangible progress happening in the lab. And the money seems to be following that progress in a big way, wouldn't you say?
Without a doubt. We've seen over $7 billion in private investment pour into the fusion sector since just 2021.
$7 billion since 2021.
Yep, that's an astounding amount. And it's coming from venture capitalists, tech giants, major private companies. They all recognize the immense potential here.
And it's not solely private investment driving this forward, is it? Governments and major research institutions are also making pretty substantial commitments.
Absolutely. You've got initiatives like ITER,
ITER, yeah, the big international one.
That's it. Massive international collaboration, budget exceeding, $22 billion. It demonstrates the commitment at a global level.
That's serious money.
It is. And in the U.S., the Department of Energy, through programs like ARPAE, that's the Advanced Research Projects Agency Energy.
Right, ARPAP funds cool stuff.
They do. They're actively funding innovative fusion startups. And the UK Atomic Energy Authority, the UKEA, is a key supporter of promising companies like Tokamak Energy and First Light Fusion.
Okay.
So this combined backing, public and private, it really highlights the seriousness and, well, the perceived potential of this whole endeavor.
Okay, so we have a good grasp on why now is such a pivotal time for fusion investment, but let's get down to brass tacks.
Yeah.
Who are the major players actually making this happen?
Right.
Let's talk about some of the key companies and the technologies they're using.
Okay, so on the private side, you have some truly groundbreaking companies leading the way. There's Commonwealth Fusion Systems, or CFS, valued at over $2 billion now, I think.
$2 billion, okay.
They're using a type of reactor called a tokamak. You can picture like a donut-shaped chamber where powerful magnetic fields confine superheated plasma, but they're using those advanced HTS magnets we talked about.
Wow, the new magnets.
Exactly. And they've attracted some serious investment backing from Bill Gates, MIT, Google.
Heavy hitters.
Definitely. Then there's Helion Energy. Valuation around $4 billion.
Even bigger.
Yeah. They're pursuing a different approach called pulsed magnetic fusion. Their investors include names like Sam Altman and Peter Thiel.
Tech royalty there?
Pretty much. TAE Technologies, valued about $1.5 billion, is working on something called beam-driven field reversed configuration, or FRC.
Okay, different again.
Yep. They have support from Google and Chevron. And finally, General Fusion, valued around $1 billion, is using magnetized target fusion and has investors like Jeff Bezos and Shopify.
Wow, Bezos too. So each one is kind of taking a different shot on goal, technically speaking.
Exactly. Each of these approaches has its own unique way of trying to achieve that crucial fusion reaction.
That's a really impressive roster of innovators and financial firepower. It's clear some very smart people see a significant future here. And it's not just these dedicated fusion companies showing interest, right? There's broader involvement from established industries too.
Absolutely. We're seeing significant interest from, well, established industrial and defense companies.
Okay.
Major energy companies like we mentioned, Chevron, Shell, BP. They're exploring fusion as a key part of their transition to cleaner energy.
Right, the energy transition angle.
Yep. In the defense sector, companies like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, they're reportedly working on more, let's say, confidential fusion-related projects.
Interesting.
And then you have technology and manufacturing giants like Siemens, Mitsubishi. They're developing crucial components, materials, things that will be needed for future fusion reactors.
Okay, so the whole ecosystem is starting to build out.
It really is.
This paints a really dynamic picture of the private fusion scene. But for many of us, when we think about investing, we naturally look to publicly traded companies.
Of course.
What kind of opportunities exist there? And what are some of the maybe challenges when it comes to investing in fusion through the public markets?
Right. That's the crucial question for a lot of listeners, I imagine. The current reality is that most of those really exciting pure play fusion companies we just talked about, they're still privately held.
So not easy to buy shares in them.
Not generally accessible to the average investor, no. Now, if you do happen to come across opportunities for direct investments, maybe in very small, low-priced stocks, you need to proceed with extreme caution.
Like high risk.
Very high risk, high reward scenarios. We might see some of these private companies eventually go public through mergers with SPACs, special purpose acquisition companies.
Like we saw with QuantumScape and batteries.
Exactly like that. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on.
You mentioned a couple of private companies that might potentially be on that path toward going public someday.
Yeah, I mean, there are companies like Industrial Heat. They're exploring some intriguing, though still unconfirmed, research into low-energy nuclear reactions, sometimes called cold fusion.
Cold fusion, right. Always controversial.
Highly speculative if it ever went public, for sure. And Avalanche Energy, they're focused on developing very small, like micro-fusion reactors, another private company that could potentially consider going public down the road.
Okay.
But for more readily available options right now, we really need to focus on what we call fusion-adjacent public companies.
Okay, the side door into the fusion investment world, you could say.
Exactly. The side door, the back door, whatever you want to call it.
So who are some of these companies? What should we be looking for?
Right. Think about the essential technologies and materials that the fusion industry will absolutely need.
Makes sense. The suppliers.
Precisely. So BWX Technologies trades on the New York Stock Exchange, ticker BWXT.
BWXT.
Yeah. They're a significant player in manufacturing nuclear components, and they're already collaborating with the Department of Energy on fusion-related projects.
Okay.
Now, it's a substantial company, market cap over $6 billion, so it's not some tiny penny stock.
Right. Established play.
But it represents a key publicly traded link to the fusion sector. Canadian Nuclear Labs, while currently government-owned, not public, could become an interesting materials play if it were ever spun off. Something to watch, maybe.
Okay, potential future play.
Potentially. And Nano Nuclear Energy, currently private, but has talked about a possible future IPO. They're focused on microreactors, but kind of positioning themselves as adjacent to fusion, too.
Interesting branding.
Yeah. And you might also see opportunities emerge, maybe in the penny stock realm, with smaller companies specializing in, say, semiconductors or plasma physics that could pivot to become suppliers.
Right, the pick and shovel plays for the fusion gold rush, potentially.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one way to think about it.
So it's really about looking at the companies that will provide the necessary tools and services, rather than just the fusion companies themselves, at least for now in the public markets.
Exactly, at least for most investors right now.
What about some of those other backdoor strategies you mentioned, like venture capital? Is that an option?
Yes, but it's typically for more experienced or accredited investors. Platforms like AngelList and Republic can sometimes provide opportunities to invest in early funding rounds of pre-IPO fusion startups.
Okay.
We mentioned Helion, TAE, Zap Energy. They could potentially go public in the next, say, 3 to 5 years. You might find chances to invest early through those platforms.
Right, but not for everyone.
Not for everyone, but for the broader public market, there are some more established companies that have connections through their tech or potential applications.
Okay, let's get to those. Give us some of those all-important ticker symbols.
All right. Consider American Superconductor trading as AMSC.
AMSC. Superconductors. Makes sense for the magnets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Crucial for those advanced fusion magnets. Chemico, ticker CCJ.
DCJ, uranium supplier.
Major global supplier, fuels the broader nuclear industry, so there's an ecosystem link. Palantir, ticker PLTR.
Palantir, AI, and data.
Yeah, specialize in AI and data analytics. Could be vital for managing the incredibly complex processes inside fusion reactors.
Okay, I can see that.
Even companies like Tesla, TSLA, their expertise in energy grid tech, advanced AI control systems could potentially play a role.
Interesting angle.
Microsoft, MSFT, huge cloud infrastructure, and they've actually partnered with Helion Energy to buy fusion power when it becomes available.
Wow, okay. A future customer already lined up.
Kind of a big vote of confidence, right? GE Vernova, GE, key player in grid infrastructure, makes turbines that could be adapted for advanced reactors, potentially fusion plants.
GE, right. Infrastructure.
We mentioned nanonuclear energy, maybe NNE if it IPOs, microreactors, fusion-ish branding, energy, URG.
URG, more uranium mining.
Yep, supports the wider nuclear fuel cycle, and even sun hydrogen, HYSR.
HYSR, hydrogen. How does that fit?
Focused on green hydrogen tech, could see potential synergies with the future infrastructure needed for distributing clean energy, potentially hydrogen produced using fusion heat or power. It's a bit further out, maybe.
Okay, a potential link there.
And keep an eye on Tokamak Energy. Private now, but there have been those SPAC rumors swirling.
Tokamak Energy, got it. That's a really diverse set of companies offering, I guess, different levels of exposure and different types of risk.
Exactly. Some are more direct plays on needed components, others are broader energy or tech plays with a potential fusion angle.
And you also mentioned a potential strategy involving penny stocks again, just briefly.
Yeah, just to reiterate, for investors with a very high tolerance for risk.
Keyword, high tolerance.
Very high. Keeping an eye on small cap companies that maybe announce a pivot towards fusion tech could present speculative opportunities. Also, watching Department of Energy grants a big grant to a small company could move its stock price. But again, crucial to repeat, highly speculative, significant risk involved.
Which naturally leads us to the critical point, risk. This all sounds incredibly promising, exciting even.
It is exciting.
But it's clearly not without its potential downsides for investors. We have to talk about that.
Absolutely. We need to be crystal